Uncle Leon, that's how the theme song goes. How you going, my boy?
It's one of those weeks, is it, my man? How you been? Busy gigging?
Busy gigging, just breaking hearts, taking names, etc. I did a pretty fun gig on Friday night. Actually, it was fun. It was a school ball, but it was Back to the Future themed, and they went all out. So got a bit of Power of Love. Had to sing that. Had to sing Johnny Be Good, and then I had to go home. So it was all right.
The most important question is, did you play an ES335?
I did. I played my ES335, and boy, did it sound good. So we'll talk about it. I'll talk about the rig that I used for that.
Mate, talk about it right now.
Well, I want to catch up with you, mate.
That's what we're here.
I haven't bloody
Why would you want to do that?
Oh, mate. All right. Well, look, let me just quickly say, Uncle Leon, how are you? Just tell me a little something. Just tell me how you're feeling.
Troy, the West Coast Eagles won a game of Australian rules football on the weekend, and Jake the Snake Waterman kicked six
goals. The luge, they call him.
6 big ones. 6 big boys through the sticks. I was actually driving past the stadium when it was the third quarter, listening to it on the radio, and everyone was losing their mind.
Yep.
They kept saying, Jake Waterman, he's on 4 goals. His brother Alec, career best of 4, but his dad Chris, career best of 6. Oh, gee, that'd be an interesting one around the dinner table, wouldn't it? Bragging rights. And then he kicked 2 more goals, so that was kind of rad.
I've watched Jake do like one of the Eagles interviews yesterday, and someone asked him about that, like kicking 6 goals, and he's like, "Yeah, I saw my old man after the game. First thing he said was, oh, you could have had 8." So
that's so funny.
Encouragement. But
they did waste a lot of shots, hey?
Oh yeah, like they were really accurate until like 3/4 time or like halfway through the third quarter, and they cooked it. But they still got to win, mate. That's good. And look, even though I'm a Fremantle supporter these days, I'm very happy just for West Australians to get one up on some Victorians. For those of you that don't live in Australia, you have to understand we are on the West Coast here. West Coast, best coast. And everything else is irrelevant, particularly the state of Victoria and everything inside of it, including you, Jason, head first. No, I'm kidding. We love Jason. But anyway, mate, let me tell you about my gig because I played a 335 at the Back to the Future gig.
Yep.
And all during the week I had to learn and I had to practice these songs. So what am I going to practice? What am I going to practice in? Through? What little amp shall I run? You want to know what amp I run?
You don't happen to have a little Princeton around, do you, Tondi?
I do, but that's not what I played, mate. I played myself a little pedalery-do, if you will, made by one Mr. Dave Friedman, one lent to me by one Leon Todd. So I spent the week playing with the IRX, which not the first time I've plugged it in. I used it for a session a few months ago, maybe a month ago, and it was great. It was very, very good. And so I thought, you know what? I need a simple little setup for this gig, and I didn't want to take my full pedal board and all that sort of stuff.
Exactly.
So yeah, I just used the IRX, and it was fantastic. Goodness me, it was a good sound, mate.
What IR did you roll with?
I don't remember. I changed whatever was in there. I loaded a factory one from what you had. I didn't use the Leon Todd special. But I tried a few different ones in there at the time. So yeah, I can't remember exactly which one it was. But man, I spent the whole week just like jamming with it on the table, playing through my studio monitors, and it was really good. When I first got it off you, I think I ran it into the orange pedal baby, and it was okay, but wasn't a life-changing event. And so I thought, okay, well, this is a box. I'm sort of not 100% certain that the pedal baby is the greatest power amp going, which I'm not surprised about it. It's not worth that much money, but it's a little plasticky sounding is probably the best way I would describe it. And I think with the IRX, it didn't quite really give me that much joy, but going direct through my monitors and then at the gig going direct through a powered wedge, it sounded fucking awesome, man. I really, really dug it. And I was using it in channel 2 in the crunchier sort of setting for both the songs I had to play, just because, that was just easy. And man, it kind of got me thinking, got the wheels turning about a new little pedal board. I mean, depending on whether or not you want this thing back in a hurry or we'll just wait and see how we go. But yeah, man, IRX. And for those of you that if you haven't tried it, I'd recommend it if you're into preamps and stuff.
Have you tried it through like the VHT power amp you've got there?
Not yet.
Would recommend.
Yeah, because did you run it through the Synergy power amp when you had it?
I have tried it at home, with the Synergy power amp, and I thought that was really good.
Yep.
Like weirdly liked it more than the Synergy Friedman modules I've tried.
Have you tried the deluxe one?
No.
Yeah, that's one I'm really keen to try out because as far as
I think they're very similar, right, or identical.
I've got no idea if they're identical or not, but I'm pretty certain I saw a gut shot of the IRX somewhere, and it looked very similar to when you load up a Synergy module or like look at the inside. So I don't know how similar they are.
Right.
I haven't actually compared the features because there's a few there's like bright switches on the IRX.
Yeah.
And I mean there's obviously differences, like there's not the cab emulation and stuff on the Synergy module. So yeah, I'm sure it's not like a bang bang. But I'd be curious to see what the differences are. Because the BE Friedman module was like okay, but probably not the best one. And at least the ones that I've tried. But I've been really keen to try like the Bucks and Betty Brown Eye one, the BB. Was it BEBB?
Yep.
Not BBBE. BBBQ.
BYOBBQ. Simpsons fans will know that one.
Yep. I've been keen to try that out. I actually know someone that's got one, so I might see if I can pinch that and have a little.
Oh, that's cool.
Just compare. But the deluxe one, like the B deluxe when it came out last year, looked really good. So I was kind of keen to try that out.
Yeah, I remember watching the Nielsen demo and being like, "Whoa, that sounds really, really good." Well, man, I wasn't getting that sound from the standard BE.
Yeah, it just really makes me want a Friedman, man. I mean, it's been on the to-do list for a long time. Playing with the IRX, which I mean, man, I feel like I've gone through every other way I could try playing a Friedman amp without ever having a real Friedman amp, like the U80 plugin, in the Fractal, in the Line 6 stuff, obviously the IRX, and then the Synergy module. It's like I've tried everything, but just still haven't sat in front of a real amp or one of his real amps yet. So that would be it's on the to-do list at some point.
That would HBE very good.
But anyway, man,
it's rad. Hey,
that's very, very cool.
Have you tried it for the Dockers gig yet?
No, I've got the next Dockers game next week. So I've been wanting to do it, but it's one of those things, man. Like I probably mentioned this before on this, but like I've been using the AX8 for the last 6 years at this gig, using the same preset. It works. Honestly, it's way too saturated for the set for what it needs to be, but it sounds good. And so because it works and it's easy, I haven't changed it. And I've been like reluctant to bring any other piece of gear just in case it doesn't sound or feel as good in the headphones. But having now used this for a gig and knowing that it sounded really good, I feel fairly confident that I could bring it along. Man, I don't want to keep harping on about too much because, like, I mean, the IRX has been out for probably 8 months now and everyone's done YouTube demos and everyone knows it's good. But
also I know lots of people on my Discord server there's been a few people who have bought them recently and they're like, some people have been like, yeah, it's okay. And other people have been like, this is the best thing ever. I play so much guitar with it because I just twist some knobs and run it through studio monitors and I like the sound.
I really liked
exactly what it's for.
Yeah, man, I really liked it. I didn't like it at first through the studio monitors. It's weird because do you remember... I'm not sure if you had this experience or not, but when I got my Axe-Fx Ultra in like 2011, the first time I heard an Axe-Fx, or 2012, no, 2011, anyway, it doesn't matter. I just hated it. Like I thought it was going to change my life, and it didn't give me a sound I was happy with. And then it took a little while to get used to. And then when I did, I obviously really got into it. I don't know with the IRX, so outside of the power amp situation, and the only reason I tried the Pedal Baby is because it was very convenient. It wasn't like I sought out. I wasn't like, all right, I'm going to try this through everything I can. It just happened to be sitting right there. But I wonder if one of the things I didn't like about it originally was because when you play, and same as the Fractal, you play through studio monitors at a moderate volume, you hear the guitar strings at the same time.
Yeah, dude.
And that is such a way of realizing you don't like the sound of something, whereas it's just like, it's inescapable when you're playing through an amp, through actual moving air.
Yep.
And I sort of found like, I don't know if this is just a me thing, but I have to really sort of consciously concentrate on the sound of the speakers and not the sound of the guitar in front of me. Sometimes I have to switch my brain over. Like, I don't know if you found this, like flicking through IRs and you're just like, oh, that sounds brighter and that sounds this and that sounds that. But there's like no real, it just sounds like, it just sounds like very colorless almost, or very plain. It's just like very flat.
It's lacking the spatial element.
Yeah. And then if you like, I like your trick of, with like the Fractal, for example, recording in some dry guitar into the looper, and then you can like A/B stuff and change your settings, because then you can really hear what the thing's doing.
Yep.
That seems to be the only way to really tell. Other than if you're just using headphones or something like that, I suppose you block out some of the sound. But yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of, like say on the Fractal or the Helix, the virtual capos in there that you shift up or down a semitone. I've had people be like, oh, but it sounds really bad. And it's like, well, how are you listening to it? And they're like, oh, I'm playing it quite low volume without headphones. Like, yeah, because you're hearing the acoustic sound of your guitar.
Yeah.
It's actually non-negligible. I was saying this to someone yesterday, actually, about, people go on about the Tonewood debate.
Yep.
I play electric guitar unplugged a lot. It's kind of nice.
Yeah.
You're just sitting there strumming your electric guitar, and construction, like, it all matters. It's not just the sound of the pickups in that case, right? It's, if your guitar's pleasant to play unplugged, you're probably going to play it more than your ones that sound bad unplugged. So you probably just play it more plugged in too. So, there's that element kind of from a couple of episodes we were talking about pickup swaps. If you like your guitar unplugged, then yeah, changing the pickups, probably a cool thing to do.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a total diversion. In that whole Synergy family thing, did you like the DRECT that came out yesterday?
I did. I've watched a couple of little. I haven't seen. Have you put a video out for it yet?
I have.
Oh, I did not see your video come up yet. But
there you go. I watched YouTube is failing me.
I watched the Michael Nielsen video, and I watched the Fluff video, because if anyone's going to tell you what a recto sounds like, then it's probably that guy. And they sounded great, man. I really liked it. So what were your opinions? So it's based off a Rev C, correct? In theory?
Yeah. I should do a comparison video with my Rev G, just because it's kind of easy to do that with a Synergy setup. They have the looping function. You can 4-cable method your own amp to it, which I always forget about.
But does your recto have the series or parallel loop?
So I got mine modded a while ago to have the series loop.
Yep.
It originally had a parallel loop, which was a pain. So it's a very simple mod to do. And the amp was getting service anyway. So I was like, while you're doing that, can you do this? And still, the value that you have the effect send and return at changes the sound. Oh man, they're kind of annoying amps. Like, they're great. They're worth persevering with, right? Because they sound unlike anything else. But that thing is like, oh, yeah, if you have, the effects loop in the old Rev G's, not good, basically. Not as bad as the loop in a Soldano, which is before the tone stack, but we won't go there because, Soldano can do whatever they want. Boogie can do whatever they want as well, but if you understand how the loop works, it's fine. Yep. But, oh man, yeah. So just don't use the loop is the trick of the day, kids. But yeah, I really should just A/B them and see how close it is. It's kind of like, I saw a bunch of people, and again, this kind of plays into, there's obviously some truth to it, but the sound of a recto is the sound of the power amp. No. The power amp is important, but it's not the entire sound.
Yeah.
Kind of like, the sound of a Marshall Plexi it's all power amp distortion. It's like, yeah, but dude, the preamp section is important as well.
Well, it's a whole interactive system, right?
Yeah, exactly. You can't just break it down to one thing. So yes, a power section is definitely important, but so much of the recto sound is a preamp distortion thing, the cold clipper in there and a bunch of other things. So yeah, of course the Synergy module isn't going to sound like your 3-channel recto or my old Rev G, but Synergy also make a Bassman module and a TDLX module and a Plexi module. And, the Plexi module, it's a preamp, but it still has the stuff that it does. And it's not really, it's kind of designed to get you the taste of it without having to have the real thing.
Yeah.
So I think it does a pretty decent job of giving you the taste of recto. And the presence control on it, yeah, the taste of recto, kids.
That was,
let's snapshot that one. But yeah, the presence control on it is kind of cool as well. Like it gives you that razor blade thing. So
right.
yeah, I think it's cool.
I'm really keen to try it out, man. It's it's nice that they finally did it. You know, I'm
like the 6505 module, right? Like they finally did it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm waiting for someone to do the shootout of like, well, don't you know that a 5150 and a Soldano and a rectifier, it's all the same preamp. So like, you know, let's just, why do you need all these synergy modules? And then someone will do a shootout and they'll sound completely fucking different. It's like,
yeah. And then at the end of the video, they go, see, it sounds exactly the same.
Yep. But I mean, that's the cool thing about the synergy stuff. I mean, I think this is the cool thing about it. So if it isn't, then I apologize. But yeah, if you're going to get if you're going to try and get a recto sound out of a unit that's that small, it's not just, no, I guess like, okay, take the Freyat ones where you're trying to like deliver what the whole amp is in a small box. So like, even if the preamp section is in there, there'll be theoretically other design choices to still give you the simulation of what the entire thing is. So yeah,
like the 2CP, you put it up to a Boogie Studio preamp or the preamp on a Mark IV, and you can bring them into line with one another really quickly. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it's through the same power section, so that's a factor in there. I imagine the DRECT through a recto power section is going to sound quite a lot like a recto. So that's an important design choice.
I'm looking forward to. I feel like that power section element of it. How that's addressed in the modules or how it's addressed in the power amp itself, I feel like that is a thing that I guess it will be addressed in the future with the new Synergy IR thing whenever that like 20 watt head comes out with the IR stuff in it.
Yeah, that's cool.
And obviously in the IRX, you know, there's that, it's got power amp modeling or something in there too. Yep. So there'll be a bridging of a lot of these things, which I think will be really, really useful to make things sound a bit more correct. Yes.
Which reminds me, have you tried one of your Synergy modules into the effects return of the IRX direct?
No, I've not tried that. I could though. Because
you can use the IRs and the power amp modeling. Sounds pretty good.
Yeah,
I've tried it with a few different modules. Yeah, it's cool, man.
Yeah, I mean, I've got the Syn 1, so I could pop that in the effects loop of the IRX and then try that out.
Do you reckon you're going to keep your Syn 30?
I don't know. I'm like, there's another amp that's popped up recently that I kind of have my eye on. So if I decide to jump, that amp may really negate the use of having the Syn 30. I'm such a Synergy person right now, and considering how much I use it, like I've got some great modules and they're awesome to have, but I probably don't need a Syn 1, a Syn 2, and a Syn 30, you know?
Yeah,
but
right.
It's just happened that I started with one and then I accumulated other stuff and I have to just move on the other bits as I sort of... upgrading is not the right way of saying it, but right now having a Syn 2 in a rack with a couple of modules is really like the most valuable method for me. And running through the Freyat power amp, like that's great. The Syn 30 head sounds awesome. I really, really liked gigging with it when I gigged with it last year a bit. And I've used it in the studio a few times and I've really dug it. I think the clean channel on it's pretty good too. I mean, it's not very like special, but it's nice. Like it's very usable. And
that's all you need live sometimes, man. Just cleanish.
Some of the gigs
and go.
Yeah, some of the gigs, man. Like it's really just that and put a pedal in front of it. Because you know, like there are times when pedal distortion is the sound that you need, not like cranked Marshall distortion. I know that I hate to be that person, but it's just like, man, like I've told you this, I'm sure. I've probably said on the thing, like last year when I built this pedal board for someone and they had the brown audio protein and I tried the Nobles like ODR one side of that, I was like, this is the like the bland overdrive sound that I've wanted for years. You know, it's just it's very like, it doesn't have a specific color to it, but it just does the thing that I want it to do, you know? And so when I play certain gigs with like a Marshall sound, it's just too Marshall-y and it stands out too much. And and it's too reactive as well, you know? Like, I just kind of want something that's just so idiot-proof and so forward and just kind of like that. And that's where pedals are great. So anyway,
and speaking of Marshalls,
I'm getting like a bit sort of off track as I tend to do. But I guess like the Synth 30, it's great because like as a pedal platform, 30 watts, great. The clean is really good. You can put a module in there, great, no problem. But now that I've got the Syn 2 as a studio thing, it's probably not super necessary. So we'll see, man. I like it. I do really, really like it. But there's probably a few things that I want to pick up this year that, you know, I'll be able to buy another one in the future if I really miss it. Whereas my pink rectifier, which I can see up there, I probably won't be able to find a pink rectifier again, so that's probably not going to ever be on the chopping block. So,
like, you could probably find another Splawn Nitro if you wanted to. You won't find another Marshall like yours. You could definitely find another PV5150, whether you want to pay for it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, man.
The current prices is another thing.
The Splawn Nitro, I probably won't find another one at a reasonable price, and that's what's kept me hanging on to it for so long. It's there's plenty of them around, but considering how much money I paid for that and how much money I put into it so far, which is not very much, it's kind of it's not a big deal to get rid of it. It's just stuff. Everything's just stuff. Who cares? I was thinking about this the other day. Like,
go make a film.
Like in the future, if my kids decide that they don't want to play guitar, at what point am I gonna just have? I mean, I'm talking like hopefully in a very, very long time, but how many guitars and how many amps am I going to end up hoarding over the course of my life that's just going to end up in a skip bin or, you know, just whatever. I might have to make a decision to cull stuff at some point in my life. Hopefully not for a little while. Hopefully my kids decide they want to play guitar and they can keep some of it.
And you can just offload it all to them.
Well, it's going to suck when it's like, Dad's dead. We got to get rid of all his shit now. Thanks, Dad. You know?
Here, look at this. Look at this stupid amp no one wants to buy.
Yep.
What do we do with it? Put it in the bin. You can't even buy tubes anymore. Yeah. They don't even exist.
I've thought about it.
I had this thought the other day. I've just gone for a walk and I was like, if I died right now, or like, you know, I had 5 minutes to think about I was dying.
Yep.
Like, who would I give stuff to? Mm-hmm. You know? And obviously, you know, I'd want my main assets being all this crap here to go to my wife so she can sell it. But I also was like, no, there's some people I'd want them to have my stuff.
Yep.
You know, obviously yourself. And like, I've had like a few students over the years who are awesome players and awesome people where it's like, hey, you know, you liked that thing. So
yep.
And just a bunch of stuff like that. So yeah, burdening people with stuff that's really valuable to me that would just take up space for them.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like, well, yeah, my Marshall. If I die, either my Marshall will go to you. That's what that's. Let this be my will and testament that Leon can have my
Troy's
Marshall.
last one. This is our gear will.
Any of my guitars. I mean, my acoustic. My dad's acoustic will probably be one that passes down through the family. Or the Marshall. If Rory plays guitar, then you can just not have the Marshall. Sorry, buddy. That will go to my son. But yeah, I mean, the rest of it, if you want any of my guitars, man, you can tell me right now. You can have whichever one you want.
Bro, same. Just, you know, when I'm dead, just pop in.
Yep.
Step over the corpse and help yourself.
Elspeth, yep. Oh, is he cold yet? Yep, cool.
Nah. He reckoned I can have it in that.
You know what? I'll take that. The Hamer Junior.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. It's yours.
Sweet.
It's yours, my brother. And you know, maybe the rest will all get auctioned off to my patrons, and then I don't know. It'll all end up going to Cat Haven at the end of the day. So
yep.
Paying it forward to some kind of good cause.
Yep. Anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know how
let us know in the comments your prized possessions that are really valuable to you. What would you want your loved ones to do in the event of a tragic accident?
Now, let me just say...
1-800 Troy and Leon Life Insurance. We can make that decision for you.
I want to point out to everybody, what a professional YouTuber right there. Let us know in the comments, everybody. Never occurs to me to say things like that. But mate,
well, Troy,
how many
you're
subscribers
more of an audio
have you got?
man.
Have you hit six figures? You must be pretty close.
Do you really want to know?
I want you to tell me right now.
I'll tell you the real time at the time of recording.
And this is
April 18th.
YouTube
dashboard.
99229. Oh my god, 99229. We can get 700 plus. We're pretty close, mate. What do you get for 100,000? Do you get a plaque?
Do you still get a plaque? You know,
don't ask me, mate.
That'd be cool. Put that next to my degree from the University of Western Australia. Well done, Leon. You've got first class honors in pure mathematics and a 100,000 subscribers YouTube plaque. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna tell my mum, throw my degree in the bin that you've got hanging up on your wall. I'm so proud of your son, and put this YouTube plaque because this is the real thing that I've worked hard at.
Yeah. Does she have it?
What a world!
Does she have it framed somewhere? That's nice.
Yeah.
I reckon
because mate, I didn't even go to my own graduation. I was like, yeah, whatever, bro.
Yeah, don't hang on. You did an extra year, didn't you? Or is that what that entails?
Yeah. So
this is Leon's qualifications. Really quick.
Yeah.
This is where you need to be a YouTuber. Go on.
Just be a hell mad dog on the frets. So yeah, you do an undergraduate degree, which is normally 3 years, which I did. So I have a Bachelor of Science, but then you can do an extra year called Honours, which basically for certain like in universities in Australia, the pathway to a PhD is to do an honours degree. In a lot of other parts of the world, the pathway is to do a master's degree.
Right.
So yeah, there's a bunch of other. I had a buddy I went to university with who pulled out of his honours midway through because he wanted to go to uni in the UK, so he transferred over to doing a master's.
Right.
And I was like, also just like, whatever, bro, go listen to George Lynch. Who's that? Well, what's wrong with you? Anyway, so I have a Bachelor of Science degree in pure mathematics and mathematical statistics, and then I did an honours degree.
Yeah.
So
and you did pretty well in high school.
Whole lot of good that's doing.
Pretty smart guy in high school.
Got to go to a few ceremonies after high school, so that was nice. Had some people give me some money.
Yep.
That was really nice.
And
then it all paid off.
Yeah. And meanwhile, I slacked off in high school, everybody. Became a sound person. And, yep. Anyway, the end of the story. It's fine. It's all worked out.
Mate, kids, if there's anyone under the age of 25 listening to this,
don't try.
It just doesn't. Yeah, don't try.
Give up.
Do or do not. There ain't no try. Mate, did Michael Jordan do a physics degree? Of course not.
No.
He just Michael Jordan his way through. Did Jason Ackermanis go to university?
I'm basically Michael Jordan and Ackermanis and Harley Reid all mixed into one person.
Or Harley Reid, by the way.
Oh my God. What a performance.
Do you like how much they built up? He's Dusty 2.0, and he gave Dusty a little "Don't argue."
Oh, I loved it.
I was listening to the radio when that happened, and they were just, they're going to be replaying this one for a while.
And they
Who
sure
does
did.
720? Because
I don't know.
So I like to listen to 720 AFL commentators. It's Grandstand Football. Yeah, that's right. Who's on ABC Grand? Clint Wheeldon. He's the one they're always throwing to.
Right.
That's right. Sharad Wellingham with the special comments.
Oh, yeah?
Brawny.
Oh, that's a good.
Sometimes a bit of Brad Sewell and a bit of Mick Malthouse.
Oh.
Always being like, mate, the orbit of Jupiter as it intersects, the Orion constellation means that bloody Harley Reid is prime time. Just like, okay, Mick.
Yep. Hey, he won us 2 premierships in the 90s, so we got to give the man some respect.
But then he won Collingwood a premiership, so does that just flip it the other way?
Hey, getting back on topic, the thing is, everybody...
Look, speaking of Marshall, Troy...
Yeah, I just want to say I appreciate everyone that does listen to this, and you just have to deal with the fact that we like Australian rules football, and you should too, and if you don't, then you're the problem, and you can just spend all your time on Wikipedia catching up, and we'll see you next week.
And if you're an American and you want to check out some AFL, support the West Coast Eagles. It's the correct way to live.
Or, mate, Fremantle Dockers, as long as it's a West Australian team. Hey, if you don't want to do football, Perth Wildcats, no worries. Perth Heat, if you like baseball. Just get on the WA train. It is the place to be.
A bunch of champion teams.
Yep. But talking about marshals, mate, you and I, we've made some acquisitions in the last week.
Acquisitions? We have.
Shall I go first?
You should definitely tell the people, Troy, because I had demoed one of these a while ago. Shout out to my buddy Martin, who bought one of these and let me borrow it because I had a wicked time with it. But now you own one.
I do. It's right. That. Hang on. There we go. That one. Right
there we go.
Marshall SV20 acquired
Baby
Plexi, which is really very, 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 very cool. It popped up secondhand on Facebook, and I have been sort of keeping my eye on all these little like studio reissue ones because they sound like great from the demos.
Yeah.
And I probably, well, you know, they're moddable. I pretty much, so it came up pretty cheap. I sort of, I was in Adelaide about to jump on a flight back to Perth. And I was messaging the guy saying, I can come with the amp up, da-da-da. And so on the flight back to Perth, while I was sitting on the plane, I jumped on YouTube and onto Jason's YouTube channel, and I just sort of typed in to see if there's any mods, and I downloaded a couple of mods to watch on the plane, just to see what the deal was with them. And they all look pretty doable for a person like myself.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, so I think I haven't done it yet because I just haven't had time to get in there and have had a bit of a go. But like that and the 800 one and all that sort of stuff, they look moddable. They sound really great, and just be kind of cool to have them as a flavor. And I've got my my Marshall, my Beast modern Marshall, the Plexi style with like the 2 inputs that you can jump. I don't have any. Well, I don't have one of those. So it's just kind of cool to add it into the collection. So, yeah, man, I really dig it. I've been playing it quite a bit the last few days when I've had time to do so, and yeah, really, really great little amps. So I couldn't remember because we were messaging about these maybe a month or two ago, or maybe longer ago than that, and then actually after I bought it, I saw that you'd done a video, and I couldn't remember if you'd actually bought one or not. But yeah, so you.
No, I don't own one, but I did buy a 4-hole 1979 Marshall. Look, it's probably going to Jason very soon, so tell us, I'm just going to hold off.
Yeah, well,
if people are patrons, they've heard it already because I did a little video for them. But it's a 2959, and Jason actually happened to just do a video with an all original 2959 recently.
Let me tell you a little story, Uncle Leon. You ready for this? Saturday night. I do a gig. I get home from my gig at 10:30. I'm sitting on the couch. Need to go to bed. Don't go to bed. Checking on YouTube. What's been happening? Oh, new video from Jason Headfirst. What's this about? Marshall 2929. Never heard of it before. Wait, you're saying it's a Marshall with reverb? That sounds familiar. Jump on Facebook Marketplace. What do I see? An amp that has in fact come up for me a couple of times in the last week, and it is a Marshall.
Me too.
2929, an amp with reverb. And I thought, there's no way that this is the same amp. I've never heard of this before. And Jason's doing a video, and then there's one on Marketplace. I actually made sure it wasn't the exact same amp, that someone was just modding or had flipped or something.
I obviously thought, well, yeah, it's the same amp.
So yeah, and so I messaged Jason. I was like, hey man, you'll never guess what's appeared. He obviously was already on top of it. He was watching it. And then I was kind of like, oh, that'd be a cool one to chuck into the collection. And then you and I messaged about it like Sunday morning, and then by Sunday afternoon you'd pull the trigger.
Yeah, obviously when you got your amp, I was like, damn, how cool are 70s Marshalls?
Yep.
Like just to look at, but also the prices have gone crazy on them. It used to be. Because can you remember, if you're willing to disclose, what you paid originally for your amp however long ago, 2014?
2014, mine was $1,800, I think. And I got it off John, a guy locally, John, he went through a bit of a phase. He may still be doing this, but he was just buying a lot of Marshalls, as many as he could find. And he was bringing some in. He had some locally that he had found through various means, and was sort of, I don't know if trading them is the right sort of way of saying it, but Yeah, he certainly had a few that he was going through. There are a couple of Marshall heads around, some people that we know, so anyway, John, like, he had this amp, and I went around. I remember it was a Sunday night, and I went around to his house to try it out, and he's like, "Yeah, look, I've got a few of them, and this one sounds really good." His old man was in bands back in the day as well, so he had some, like, I think he had a 73 50 watter at the house, and he had maybe a 76 as well, and he sort of lined them up, and he's like, "Oh, this one sounds like this, da-da-da, this one sounds like this, da-da-da." But the 77, which is the one that I bought, he's like, "Look, I really like it, but I probably need the cash to put into another amp." And so anyway, I got it for 1,800. It looks pretty used, and I really like that. I like gear that has a bit of life to it, you know? And I was actually talking to another Marshall guy a little while after that, and he sort of looked at the amp. He's like, "Oh yeah, you bought that, did you? It looks like a bit of a pig." And I was like, "Yeah, man, that's what I want."
That's the point.
He's got a few more like early 70s plexis and stuff, so that's more of his vibe. So anyway, you know, it's a late 70s one. It's maybe not quite as desirable, but 1,800 is what I paid for it. I've seen a couple come up more like $2.5 to $3,000. I saw one for, I want to say 5 recently. Yeah, there was one with a cab, I think $5,000, which seems like pretty outrageous. So yeah, man, like, or do you want to tell people what you paid for it, or do you want to keep that to yourself?
I'll keep that to myself for now. Yeah, just, you know, because it's kind of fresh. But the guy I bought it from had listed it at quite a decent price, and then he looked after me. He was really nice. So yeah, sort of, you know, did the old, "Hey, I have this much cash, want it?" kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So as you do. But messaged Jason about it, and he was like, "Oh, that, yeah, like, you did well," kind of thing for that amp. And interesting thing. So the 2959 has reverb, but also a plate-driven tone stack. So it's not really it's not just a 1959 with reverb. Right. So it does a thing where you turn all the bass, treble, and middle all the way off, and it cuts out. Yep. It doesn't have a cathode follower, which is interesting for a Marshall. They made a few amps around then. And as I understand it, there's also the Marshall history thing. They had a crappy distribution deal, so they started making some circuits under the Park amp. Yeah. You're aware of Park? Yeah,
John had a Park, or he was trying to chase down Park amps years and years ago. So yeah.
I'm pretty sure they had a model with a plate-driven tone stack and a post-phase inverter master volume. Right. So it's sort of like very modded Marshall already. And they had I think there's a J&P combo, the 2150, that had a few similar features. Okay. So yeah, it's interesting. Like, the tone stack is a little bit different. It's not quite as gained up as a Plexi, but because the previous owners. So this guy was saying he bought in 2008 from Lounge Guitars.
Oh, no way.
It's probably been a backline amp for a while.
Right. Lounge Guitars was. Oh wait, hang on. Yeah, Lounge Guitars, not Lounge Backline.
Lounge Guitars, yeah, because they closed around then, right?
Yeah, they were like a secondhand guitar, like a proper secondhand guitar shop in Leederville. I remember going there the first time in like 2004, because they had a rehearsal room there. I remember like being 16 and doing a rehearsal and in this like really crappy rehearsal room that they had, and like being there till like midnight as a 16-year-old before Mum picked me up. It was like that was back in the day, but they were cool. Like, they had some. That was the first time I saw old Marshalls. I didn't have very many of them, but there was like a couple in there, and I didn't know anything about it. They actually had this for years and years. They had this really cool like turquoisey looking Explorer with a Saturn, like the planet Saturn, like sticker on it.
It was on Cambridge Street. Hey, you could see it from the freeway.
Yeah, near where Manny's is now. And so yeah, anyway, like that's really interesting, man. Like, because I don't know in terms of them, like Lounge Backline is the main backline provider in WA as well. So I don't know how related they are. Yeah. I'm sure there is some sort of crossover. But yeah, so that amp, so it had been modded, right?
Yes. So I believe it's kind of been brought into like super lead spec, like the reverb's been removed. Mm-hmm. So there is just a tube sitting in there doing nothing at the moment. Yep. And I mean, by the time this video comes out, I don't know, it depends on how I go and what Jason's schedule is like, whether I send it before this episode comes out, but you know, we'll see. But yeah, so it's like, it sounds like an old Marshall Super Lead, just the tone stack's slightly different. Maybe there's slightly less gain at certain settings. Going to this guy's house, he had a telly, and I took a 412 because he didn't have a cab, plugged it in, and like guitar volume on 1, amp volume on 1. It was just colossally loud. It was like scary. It's been, and I was saying to Jason, I was like, oh, hey, the last time I actually cranked up an amp was when I went over to the studio with you and we had the Alta and we just dimed it. Like, and that was so fun.
Yep.
You know, that was like ridiculous. But we had earplugs and it was in the studio. So, you know, it was kind of a little less on edge crazy. Whereas, yeah, that was, you know, a tiled living room. And it was really cute. Like his kids love music. They're like, I don't know, maybe 5 and 3 or something. So they came out and they were like, do you know any Beatles? I'm like, all I know is the riff from Day Tripper. So I was playing that and the kids were like super into it. It was great.
That's cool.
just out of curiosity, I'm looking at the lounge backline guitar rig, what you can hire. Hi-Watt DR103 Classic 100, Kemper, Marshall JMP Super Lead 73, Super Lead 74, an original 2203, a reissue 2203, JCM 900, DSL 100, DSL 50, TSL 100, TSL 60, JVM, Boogie Dual Rectifier, Triple Rectifier, Rocker Verbs, PV6505, EVH 5150 Iconic, and then a bunch of cabs. So, you know, they've got all the things most people want, but it is pretty interesting. I wonder if this was used as a backline amp, or if it was in the store, you know, or if lounge guitars and lounge backline are even related. Who knows?
That I don't remember. It's interesting. I didn't realize they had a couple of older Marshalls in there. Weirdly enough, there's this one really, really great sounding JCM 900 that they have there, which
really?
Yeah. And it got put onto me. It was like, I think Rossetti actually maybe was the one that said it, because I had a 900 at the time that I hated. And yeah, there was just like, I remember I did a gig up north where I was playing bass, and the backline was a JCM 900 up at Wheatstone. And I was like, oh God, you know, there's a 900 here, and that's what a shame. And yeah, man, he was like, no, this is the good one. There's one good 900.
I've also played that 900 and it was great. You know what it was, Troy?
What's that?
It was a Mark III.
Is that right?
It's the same one I have, yeah. I remember that really, really well.
Interesting.
Because I think maybe you had been up there a couple of weeks before and you're like, man, the 900 sounds really good. And I just used it as a backline amp.
Yep.
I remember being like, hang on, this isn't a dual reverb. This is the one, you know, this is the one that I've got that I never play. So
yep.
Yeah, interesting. I need to pull that amp out and actually like play it and see what I get out of it,
yep.
You know?
I think like...
That's going to be my afternoon.
Yeah.
I'm going to pull out that Mark III 900 and let you know what I think about it. I think it needs a service, but who knows?
It's been a while that I've like really... Well, okay, no, it hasn't been that long since I've tried to get a sound out of a 900. I was, when I had like the 50 watt, what is it? The dual reverb thing.
Dual reverb,
because that was the high gain dual reverb, right?
High gain dual reverb.
Yeah, when I got that, I got it because it said Marshall. I thought it was going to change my life, but it ended up just sounding really bright, way too bright.
Yeah.
And now that I'm an adult and I've experienced other amps, I know a little bit more. Because the only time I ever really liked playing it was when it was pretty loud, like very, very loud. And so kind of makes sense. It opened up at a certain point and the fizziness just sort of disappeared. So I don't know if that's a bright cap sort of a situation. Probably not, because it's a master volume sort of thing, but maybe it just needs to be loud. Like it just hits a sweet spot and it's kind of sounds good after that.
It's interesting, hey, because they had the 2210, which is the split channel thing, then the Silver Jubilee, then the 900. You can really clearly see the progression through like what they were trying to do. So yeah, I mean, there's so many JCM 900s around as well. You know, it's I think a lot of people, there's this like revisionist history thing happening where like, oh, the 900s are actually okay. People just complain about them. And then you have other people who are like, the 2203 is the last good Marshall of the end. And the truth probably lies somewhere in between. But the Mark III, it's a single channel amp with foot switchable master volumes. So it's maybe it's a little bit closer to, and I think trying to remember what way around it is. Someone was telling me it's like because there's the preamp, which goes to 10, and the sensitivity, which goes from 10 to 20.
Right.
So I think if you turn one of them all the way down, there's no diode clipping in it. So it's maybe a little more 800-ish. But yeah, man, I'm so curious. I feel like I go through this once a year. I'm like, oh yeah, I've got a Mark III. Should pull it out and try it out. And then 15 minutes later, I'm like, oh yeah, this always happens. This sucks. Yep. So I think I might actually have to put it through the ringer today and like really twist some knobs and see what the deal is.
Yeah. I remember when I got mine, that's like, remember 2008 or 9 when like I came around to your place and I was like, man, I was playing ADA MP1 and a solid state ADA power amp. I was like, oh, I think I just need to buy a tube amp and,
show me the way.
And then it was kind of like, oh, I'm going to get this 900. It's come up kind of cheap. And I don't think you were that sold on it. And I was like, yeah, I don't know if it's that good of an idea. Oh, well. And I even played it at the guy's house. I'm like, I don't know if I really dig this that much, but I guess it says Marshall on it. So that's probably pretty cool. And yeah.
So remember the SLX? Have you ever played one of those?
No, I've never played an SLX.
I think it's basically the Mark III, but instead of the diode clipping section, it's a tube-driven gain stage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which is interesting. And I know a lot of people consider those the best JCM 900s.
Yep. Yeah, look, man, there's people that dig them, and that's fine. It's just from my experience. Maybe it was just a volume thing. Clearly that was a part of it. Maybe it was just that I didn't know how to pull a sound out of an amp, which is, fair enough too, because we're always learning, right? It's funny you mentioned when we played the Alta really loud, because that experience is something I probably do. I try and do at least once a week.
That's cool.
Play an amp loud with the SV, man. Like I've been like getting.
You can crank it. Hey.
It's loud. So I've got that. I have the matching cabinet, which I got last year on a trade, and I've actually changed. I just changed the speakers in that too. So because originally it had the V types, I changed them for a pair of vintage 30s, and then I got a warehouse retro 30, an 8 ohm retro 30, maybe a month ago, and so I picked up an 8 ohm vintage 30 to put in that cabinet just so it's a 16 ohm cab.
Nice.
And I did that yesterday, so now that cab's kind of set up and ready to rock and roll, which I know it's not going to blow anything up, but all the other cabs in the live room are 16 ohms and everything runs through the amp switches, so I just want to keep everything at 16 as much as possible. And anyway, so cranking it up in the room just while I try and pick my time of day, because there are still people downstairs that don't really like the volume. But it sounds so good, man. I actually really liked it with my 335, probably more than any other guitar.
Ah, cool.
I didn't quite like it as much with the Charvel. It was just a little too, not ice picky, but just felt a little too spiky or something like that.
It's interesting because that amp loves single coils.
Right.
Like it sounds really good with a Strat, really good on the tap modes of like my DGT. It's got a slightly different thing going on. I've got that hot mod,
that's right,
legendary tones thing. I should try it out in there. I just need to figure out what tube is which, like where to put it.
Well,
I should probably
also two things.
Message Jason.
Like the cool thing about your amp and that it has that unused tube in it is the mod you can do. So like, I think I messaged you straight away to be like, I think the number 36 mod is like,
yes,
I'm pretty sure that was a tremolo, like a Marshall with a tremolo in it. And the tremolo valve was used as part of the mod to give it more gain. So like you can just do cool things like now knowing that there's a valve in there and you're not like drilling into the chassis or whatever.
Yep.
Chassis. You
say question. I'd say chassis.
Chassis? Yeah. Chassis.
Yeah, but
anyway, both are correct, right? I just said the word. I'm like, that sounds weird.
I assume it's like a French root word.
Yeah. But sorry.
But who knows?
So one thing about like the SV20, because I'm not used to having an amp where you jump the channels. I'm trying to get used to what I like more and how to run it, because it's just like that thing of you're balancing up the normal, you're balancing up the treble channel or whatever that's called, the bright channel, and they do sound really good. I think you can kind of have it any which way, and it's it certainly makes a difference. Like when you get it up past a certain level, it's unfortunate that volume is like probably not anything I can, even with that amp, it's way louder than I can get away with for a lot of the gigs that I do.
Yeah, right.
So anyway, it's something I'm like, as a pedal platform, I'm sure it would still be great. I just wish it, not wish it, I could get it, quieter with that much distortion, but I guess, just getting used to it is the main thing. The just the punchiness of it though, man, far out, the immediacy of it, you just kind of, playing
AC/DC makes so much sense on it.
Yeah, like, absolutely.
That thrack, the super fast attack, the like right hand and left hand control you need. They're so cool.
Well, we were messaging about that the other day too, right? Where it's like the I didn't go back and rewatch that video. The like, what is it? The 10 guitar players play through a crank Marshall or something like that.
Oh yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, it's you really kind of, you have to play like playing loud and just controlling volume is not something that is foreign to me, because I'm not really one to play with lots of pedals. But yeah, it's just I don't know, it's a different experience.
Very much so.
Yeah, I just wish some of the gigs I did, I could like actually open up an amp to a reasonable volume. But unfortunately,
bro, just turn your cabinet around.
Could do. Oh man, I'm not even taking cabs to a lot of gigs these days. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, I remember the madness I used to go through with my old amp rig, like Marshall 4x12 on its side, turned around. That was the point where I was like, yeah, I'm basically not hearing my cab sound on stage, so why not just start going direct?
Yep.
Which,
could do.
It meant I could turn up from 3 to 4. Wow, what an advantage.
Yep.
What a great idea, Leon. So,
oh man, look,
I do not miss that about gigging with a cabinet, where your cabinet is just laser beaming you at certain parts of the stage. Yep. So annoying. I never liked that. Everything
is just me going around in circles, man. Like every week, it's like, everything I'm doing is direct. Okay, that's awesome for this gig, and that's how I'm going to do everything. And then I'm like, well, you know what? Actually, the rest of the band isn't really getting enough stage sound, so maybe I have to have a solution. So then I end up with an NFR, FR sort of situation. Oh, maybe instead of that, I'll go a clean power amp, and I'll use a cabinet. Now that's not really working. Maybe I'll try pedals and I'll try an amp, because then I can use Backline. It's like, oh, that kind of works, but then I try an IRX and it's like you go around and around in fucking circles. And in reality,
around and around we go.
The gig that pays the most money is the HX Stump, with all of that bullshit that I've been using for 3 years. Oh, well, as a whole system, probably like 5 years. And the gear on it doesn't change, and I just plug it in and I play my gig and I get paid for it. And then it's in reality the other occasional gigs I do every month or every other month that it's an issue. But those are the gigs that I live for, Uncle Leon. So that's the problem,
mate. Exactly. Well, we were going to talk about some other stuff, but I reckon it's a good time to pull it up. What I will say, Troy, this was something I know you did a while ago. It's unrelated to gear, but I would encourage this experience for anyone curious about it. Did a cooking course the other week, mate.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Loved it. Had a great time.
Yeah.
The one that runs out of like Leaderville, I think Sultan Company it's called. We did the
It's on Fitzgerald Street.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the one we did. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. So much fun.
Yeah.
Like, you're in a room with like 14 other strangers and you're cooking together. So building teamwork, creating leadership. The chef was great. There was nothing I didn't already know in there. It just reinforced some things, which is awesome. I love that. That is such a cool thing. We had Chris Baseford on the podcast last week. He was just reinforcing our beliefs.
Yep.
It's like, oh yeah, you do that, or you do this, or yeah, of course you want to make it sound huge. Of course you want to use some drum samples because it sounds wicked.
Yep.
So yeah, that kind of thing where it's like, of course you want to use like a bunch of salt because it makes everything taste better. Don't be afraid of it, bro.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like a French provincial thing. Awesome. Had a great time. Got a bunch of good recipes out of it that I've been cooking, and
nice.
Just like 4 hours went in the blink of an eye. It was a really, really awesome time.
Yeah. In all seriousness, if you've got a wife or a partner or whatever, and you want a Christmas present or a birthday present or a Mother's Day present, cooking course, it's pretty good. Pretty good.
You're looking at your significant other who's a guitarist, and you're like, they have everything. What can I buy them? Get a cooking course.
Yeah.
We should start a an in-person course at the studio and call it a cooking course. Then you're cooking with tone.
Yeah.
And in reality,
cooking
it's a bunch of like
gear acquisition syndrome.
There you go.
We should have called this podcast "Cooking with Gas."
Cooking with Gas.
I actually do want to do
with the gear podcast.
Yeah. Oh well, we've got the logo and stuff there. I do want to do some courses, some like short course type stuff at the studio. Some hey, this is how you record a guitar amp sort of things. I'll get into that eventually.
They're handy tricks. Again, it's just you're either going to be reinforcing what people already know, which is good for them, or you'll actually be teaching people valuable life skills, which is also good for them. So on that note, mate, we're going to say goodbye for this week. Thank you to everybody who tuned into the last episode and continue to tune in. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. You can find Troy on Twitter, currently known as X, at Troy Nababand, and at Dockers Games on the weekend. So look for the rocker on the roof.
And to end this episode as well, we have to shout out good friend of the channel, Chris Brennan, for doing maybe the greatest external theme song that you'll hear. So we'll hit that right now, and otherwise we'll see you later. Peace.
This is the theme song for